18 Black Divas Who Slept With Everyone.
What if the most scandalous women in Hollywood were never scandalous at all, but simply refused to let anyone else write their story? One is a self-made billionaire the tabloids once turned into a victim's headline when she was the victim of a crime. One married the boy she loved as a teenager, after the whole world guessed wrong for years. One erased the persona that made her famous and started over under her real name. These 18 black women dated whom they chose, married on their own clocks, and walked away on their own terms. Stay to the end, because the truth is nothing like the rumor. And subscribe to Secret Celebrity Stories, where women finally tell their own stories. Rihanna.
Before anything else must come a correction, because the tabloids spent years getting her story wrong. Robin Rihanna Fenty, born February 20th, 1988 in Barbados, is not defined by the men around her. She is a 9-time Grammy winner and, per Forbes, a self-made billionaire whose Fenty Beauty redefined an industry with its 40 Shade launch in 2017. She burst out of Barbados as a teenager in 2005, and the paparazzi pursuit was instant and relentless. And here is where the record must be set straight. Her early relationship with singer Chris Brown ended in February 2009, not in controversy, but in a criminal assault. Brown pleaded guilty to felony assault and was sentenced to probation and community service. Rihanna was the victim of a crime, not a participant in a scandal. And framing it any other way has always been a failure of the media, not a chapter in her romantic history. She rebuilt on her own terms. Her connection with rapper Drake played out over years and produced chart-defining collaborations like Work. Then came a private 3-year relationship from 2017 with businessman Hassan Jameel, conducted almost entirely away from Western cameras. And in late 2020, a decade-long friendship with A$AP Rocky became something more. A partnership the fashion world crowned instantly. They have welcomed 2 sons, RZA and Riot Rose. Rihanna's timeline was never a list of conquests. It was a woman surviving what was done to her, building one of the most successful beauty empires on earth, and then deciding permanently that she would answer to no one, least of all the press that got her story so wrong.
Serena Williams. The greatest tennis player of the modern era spent her career being told to shrink, and she refused every single time, on the court and in her own love story. Serena Jamaica Williams, born September 26, 1981, in Saginaw, Michigan, holds 23 Grand Slam singles titles, the most of any player in the Open era, and built an investment empire through Serena Ventures that made her one of the wealthiest self-made women in sport. Her personal life drew the same fascination as her forehand. In the early 2000s, gossip columns linked her to NFL stars, and, by 2004, to director Brett Ratner. She later shared a widely admired connection with the Oscar-winning artist Common, who spoke often about her intellect and strength. There was a synchronized headline-generating stretch with rapper Drake, and a brief courtside romance with fellow tennis professional Grigor Dimitrov. But the defining chapter began in 2015, when she met Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian, reportedly by chance, at a hotel in Rome. Their romance led to a New Orleans wedding in 2017, and to 2 daughters, Olympia and Adira, the firstborn just months before Serena returned to a Grand Slam final. Through every headline, Williams treated her private life the way she treated match point, entirely her own decision. She dated on her timeline, married on her timeline, and built a family on her timeline. The woman who rewrote the record books rewrote the script for how a champion is allowed to love. She has spoken openly about the medical emergency that nearly killed her after Olympia's birth, turning even that vulnerability into advocacy for other black mothers. On the court and off it, Serena decided what the world got to see.
Nicki Minaj.
Here is the irony the tabloids never wanted to sit with. The woman they painted as hip-hop's ultimate wildcard has one of the most stubbornly private, long-term romantic histories in modern music. Onika Tanya Mirage Petty, born December 8, 1982 in Trinidad and Tobago, is the best-selling female rapper of all time, with over 100 million records sold and more Billboard Hot 100 entries than any female artist in history. Yet for all that public dominance, she guarded her heart fiercely. Her foundational relationship was a deeply private, roughly 12-year bond with Safari Samuels, forged in the underground years of her early mixtape grind, long before the fame, a relationship that quietly ended just as she reached global superstardom. In 2015, she stepped into her most scrutinized romance, uniting with rapper Meek Mill for about 2 years of arena tours and constant engagement speculation before an explosive split. Following a brief, heavily analyzed creative connection with rap legend Nas, Nicki did the least tabloid thing imaginable. She reached backward, to her own beginning. She reunited with Kenneth Petty, a man she had known since she was a teenager in Queens, her first love from the neighborhood. They married in October 2019, shocking an entertainment press that had been chasing entirely the wrong leads, and welcomed a son she affectionately calls Papa Bear. For a figure so loud, so maximalist, so publicly combative, her love life tells a strikingly consistent story. Long commitments, old loyalties, and a refusal to perform her private life for anyone. She commanded her kingdom precisely by keeping part of it invisible, and by choosing, again and again, the people who knew her before the crown. Naomi Campbell. Few women on earth have moved through the highest rooms of global power with the ease Naomi Campbell has, and her romantic history reads like a passport stamped by the entire late 20th century elite. Born May 22, 1970 in South London, she became the first black woman to cover British Vogue in 1987 and French Vogue in 1988, shattering barriers that had stood since the magazine's founding, and remains one of the original supermodels who defined the term. Her love life carried the same international scale. In the early 1990s, she had a whirlwind romance with U2 bassist Adam Clayton that dominated the British press. She then entered an intense, multi-year relationship with Formula One team principal Flavio Briatore, a pairing of yachts and engagements that she has since described in more complicated terms than the fairy tale version. By 2008, she began a 5-year relationship with Russian real estate billionaire Vladislav Doronin, an era of private islands and architectural extravagance. Over the decades, her name has been linked to figures spanning entertainment, business, and the arts, and in 2019, she connected creatively with British grime artist Skepta. But what reframes her entire story arrived later, and quietly. In 2021, at 50, Campbell became a mother to a daughter, and in 2023 to a son, both via surrogate, a chapter she has fiercely protected from the press that spent 30 years chronicling her every move. The supermodel who was watched by the whole world decided, in the end, exactly how much of herself the world would ever get to see, and became a mother, twice, entirely when and how she chose. Halle Berry. The first and, to this day, only black woman to win the Academy Award for Best Actress, carried her romantic life the way she carried that historic Oscar, through very public triumph and very public pain, without ever pretending to be anything but human. Halle Maria Berry, born August 14, 1966 in Cleveland, made history in 2002 for Monsters Ball, and no black woman has won that category in the more than 2 decades since. Her love life played out under a merciless spotlight. She married Major League Baseball star David Justice in 1993, a union that ended in a painful 1997 divorce she has openly said tested her deeply. She married R&B singer Eric Benet in 2001, separating in 2003. She then had a 5-year relationship with model Gabrielle Aubry that never reached the altar, but produced her daughter, Nahla, and later a lengthy custody battle. In 2013, she married French actor Olivier Martinez, whom she met filming abroad, and welcomed a son, Maceo, before their 2015 parting. What makes Berry remarkable is not the number of chapters, but her refusal to be shamed by any of them. She has spoken candidly about heartbreak, about therapy, about the cost of loving publicly. Since 2020, she has found a grounded partnership with Grammy-winning musician Van Hunt, the two of them building something deliberately quieter and further from the cameras than anything that came before. Berry has been unusually honest that a woman's romantic history is not a verdict on her character, a woman who broke one of Hollywood's oldest barriers and remains the only one to have broken it, refused ever after to let anyone else narrate her worth. Zoe Kravitz. Born into rock and roll royalty, she has spent her entire career proving she is an author and not merely an heiress. And her love life, like her films, she directs herself. Zoe Isabella Kravitz, born December 1, 1988 in Los Angeles, is the daughter of musician Lenny Kravitz and actress Lisa Bonet, and carved out her own identity as the star of The Batman and director of the 2024 thriller Blink Twice. Her romantic timeline has always been curated with the same precision. She dated actor Ben Foster in the late 2000s, then had a relationship with Gossip Girl actor Penn Badgley. In 2016, she began a romance with actor Carl Glusman, culminating in a 2019 wedding at her father's estate in Paris. She filed for divorce roughly 18 months later and handled it with characteristic composure. She then became engaged to actor Channing Tatum, whom she met directing him in Blink Twice around October 2023, before the couple amicably ended their engagement in the fall of 2024. Since August 2025, she has been linked to pop icon Harry Styles, the two spotted together across Rome, London, and New York. It's important to be precise here, because the tabloids rarely are. As of mid-2026, neither Kravitz nor Styles has publicly confirmed the relationship, and reports of an engagement remain unverified. She has spoken about how uncomfortable the constant surveillance can be, the crowds outside her home, the strangers narrating her romance back to her, while refusing to let any of it dictate how she lives. What's consistent across every chapter is her insistence on privacy, a woman who, given a famous last name, built a first name entirely her own, and lets no one else hold the pen. Tyra Banks. She turned a modeling career into a media empire, and she has run her private life with the same executive control, on her terms, by her rules, apologizing to no one. Tyra Lynn Banks, born December 4, 1973, in Inglewood, California, was the first black woman to appear solo on the covers of GQ and the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, then built America's Next Top Model into a global franchise as its creator, host, and producer. Her romantic history, by contrast, she kept deliberately shielded. In the 1990s, she had a meaningful multi-year relationship with the groundbreaking director John Singleton, who cast her early and championed her talent, followed by a sophisticated, high-profile connection with Grammy-winning musician Seal. As her business empire expanded, she chose privacy over spectacle, again and again. In 2013, she entered a 5-year partnership with Norwegian photographer Erik Asle, and in 2016, the couple welcomed a son, York, via surrogate, later transitioning into a cooperative co-parenting relationship. Banks has never married, and she has been openly, refreshingly unbothered about it, speaking on national television about building a long-term partnership with Canadian businessman Louis Bélanger Martin, and about her belief that a woman gets to define family entirely for herself. What's striking is how little of her timeline she ever surrendered to the tabloids. The woman who taught a generation how images are made was never going to let anyone build hers. She dated visionaries, became a mother through surrogacy when she chose to, and built exactly the unconventional family she wanted. Proof that owning your narrative sometimes means simply refusing to explain it. Grace Jones.
Long before anyone spoke of pop stars breaking rules, Grace Jones detonated them. And she has lived her romantic life with the same fearless, boundary-obliterating force. Born May 19, 1948 in Spanish Town, Jamaica, and raised in a strict Pentecostal household before escaping into the freedom of 1970s Paris and New York. She became a Studio 54 icon, a genre-defying recording artist, and the unforgettable villain May Day. In the 1985 Bond film A View to a Kill. Her love life was as avant-garde as her art. Her most defining creative and romantic partnership was with French graphic designer Jean-Paul Goude, who helped shape her iconic angular visual brand and with whom she had her only child, a son named Paolo, in 1979. In the 1980s, she met a young Swedish karate champion named Dolph Lundgren, whom she hired as a bodyguard before their relationship helped launch him toward Hollywood stardom. She married producer Chris Stanley in 1989 and later had a relationship with Turkish actor Attila Altanbay in the 1990s. Across all of it, Jones has been unapologetic to the point of philosophy. She wrote an entire memoir refusing to sanitize her appetites, her choices, or her contradictions. Now a grandmother, still performing into her 70s with a physical ferocity that shames performers half her age. She guards her private world while flatly rejecting every conventional expectation ever placed on her. Her romantic choices, like her music and her image, were extensions of a single refusal: to be told who she was allowed to be. She was owning her narrative before the phrase existed. Because in a life of total self-invention, she never once imagined handing the pen to anyone else.
Toni Braxton. Behind one of the great voices in R&B history is a woman who has spent her career defying expectations, including, spectacularly, the tabloids' expectations about her own marriage. Toni Michele Braxton, born October 7, 1967 in Severn, Maryland, is a 7-time Grammy winner who sold over 70 million records, a clergyman's daughter who left a strict religious upbringing to become one of the defining voices of the 1990s. Her first marriage, to musician Carrie Lewis, lasted from 2001 to a 2013 divorce she handled with notable grace, giving her 2 sons. But the chapter that left the tabloids genuinely unable to keep up began later. Her decades-long friendship with Cash Money co-founder Brian Birdman Williams became romance in 2016, and the pair conducted one of the most confounding public relationships in modern celebrity history: an engagement, a reported $1 million ring, splits and reconciliations, all while Braxton repeatedly shut down wedding rumors as false. Then came the twist no outlet saw coming. The couple secretly married on August 8, 2024. Braxton filed for divorce just 2 weeks later, only to dismiss that petition in January 2025, with Birdman signing off, meaning the two remain, to this day, legally married. It was, in the truest sense, a masterclass in controlling a narrative. For years, the public knew only what Braxton chose to reveal, exactly when she chose to reveal it. It was a masterclass in controlling a narrative. For years, the public knew only what Braxton chose to reveal, exactly when she revealed it. Denials 1 month, a secret wedding the next. A woman whose voice defined heartbreak for a generation, kept the entire world guessing, and answered to no one's timeline but her own. Ciara. The tabloids love a redemption arc, but Ciara never needed rescuing. She simply decided, at a certain point, exactly what kind of love she would accept, and then held that line publicly. Ciara Princess Wilson, born October 25, 1985 in Austin, Texas, broke out at 18 as the First Lady of Crunk & B with her diamond-certified debut Goodies, and built a 2-decade career as a hitmaker and businesswoman. Around 2004, she had a widely chronicled 3-year relationship with rapper Bow Wow, a teen magazine couple of its moment. Her most turbulent chapter came in 2013 with platinum artist Future. The two got engaged and had a son, Future Zahir, before the engagement collapsed in late 2014 amid a painful public dispute. And then Ciara did something the industry found almost radical. In 2015, she began dating NFL quarterback Russell Wilson, and the couple publicly committed to remaining celibate until marriage, a choice they discussed openly and were mocked for, and which Ciara framed as reclaiming her own standards on her own terms. They married in an English castle in 2016 and have expanded into a family of 3 children, Sienna, Wynn, and Amora. alongside future Zahir. Sierra's arc is not about the men at all. It's about a woman who moved through heartbreak and public scrutiny, and emerged having decided that her love life would reflect her values rather than anyone else's expectations. She turned the most private choice imaginable into a public act of self-definition, and weathered the mockery until it looked foolish. Her story is not about being chosen. It is about a woman who decided exactly what she would accept, said it out loud, and built the family she wanted on that decision.
Amber Rose.
The world tried to reduce her to a caption, and she spent the next 15 years proving she was the author of the entire book. Amber Levenchuk, born October 21, 1983 in Philadelphia, emerged in the late 2000s and refused, from the beginning, to be anyone's silent accessory, reinventing herself into an author, activist, and advocate who founded the Amber Rose Slut Walk in 2015, to challenge the very double standards a video like the original of this one embodies. Her rise into public consciousness came through a turbulent 2-year relationship with Kanye West, beginning in 2008, during which she anchored some of his most iconic fashion-era imagery. After their 2010 split, she connected with rapper Wiz Khalifa, and their relationship led to a 2013 marriage and the birth of their son, Sebastian. Although she filed for divorce in 2014, the two built a genuinely cooperative co-parenting relationship widely praised for its maturity. She later had relationships with musician Machine Gun Kelly and artist 21 Savage, before welcoming her second son with record executive Alexander Edwards. But Rose's real story was never the men. It was her decades-long, deliberately loud insistence that a woman's romantic and sexual autonomy is nobody's business to police. She built a public platform out of the exact judgment the tabloids tried to bury her under. Where others guarded their narratives with privacy, Amber Rose seized hers with defiance, turning every attempt to shame her into a microphone, and every headline meant to reduce her into a platform she used to defend other women. The tabloids tried to write her as a cautionary tale. She published the book herself and made it a manifesto.
Meagan Good.
Her career began in childhood, but the chapter that revealed her character came in adulthood, when she chose loyalty in the face of a public storm and refused to apologize for it. Meagan Monique Good, born August 8, 1981, in Panorama City, California, grew up on screen and matured into a leading actress across films like Think Like a Man and series like Harlem, a rare decades-long career from child star to leading woman. Her romantic life became a study in conviction. In June 2012, she married Hollywood executive and ordained Seventh-day Adventist preacher Devon Franklin in a faith-centered ceremony, and for a full decade, the two were held up as a model of devout partnership, even co-authoring relationship books, before finalizing an amicable divorce in 2022. Then, rather than retreat, Good entered a heavily scrutinized relationship with actor Jonathan Majors in May 2023, which unfolded publicly during Majors' legal proceedings in New York. She stood beside him through every court appearance, and the couple announced their engagement in late 2024, before marrying quietly in March 2025. What is not in dispute, and what belongs to her regardless of anyone's opinion of the relationship, is the consistency of her choice. Good has spoken about faith, forgiveness, and standing by her convictions, even when the entire internet urged her to do otherwise. Whether admired or questioned, she has insisted on making her own decisions in full view and owning every consequence. That is the through line of her adult life, a decade-long faith-centered marriage on her terms, and a new chapter begun on her terms too. A woman writing her love story in her own hand, deaf to the noise.
Vivica Fox.
She built a Hollywood career on ferocity and refused to let anyone, studio, tabloid, or ex, dictate the terms of her romantic life. Vivica Anjanetta Fox, born July 30, 1964 in Indianapolis, exploded into mainstream film with unforgettable roles in Independence Day and Set It Off in 1996, and sustained a decades-long career as an actress and producer. Her love life, she has always insisted, is hers to run. Her first marriage began in December 1998, when she wed singer Christopher 6ix9ine Harvest. the pairing dominated urban entertainment magazines of the era, before concluding in divorce in 2002. In 2003, she embarked on an intensely photographed romance with rapper 50 Cent, a high-gloss relationship that became a fixture on red carpets, and that both parties have referenced for years since. In 2003, she began an intensely photographed romance with rapper 50 Cent, a high-gloss relationship that became a red carpet fixture, and that both have referenced for years since. She was later briefly engaged to Atlanta promoter Omar Slim White around 2011. And then Fox did something quietly radical. She publicly declared she was finished dating entertainers altogether, announcing with characteristic humor that she was single, booked, busy, and blessed, and entertaining applications only from established businessmen who matched her drive. She set her standards out loud and dared the world to meet them. Fox's timeline is not a tale of a woman pursued. It is the record of a woman selecting, deciding, and closing doors on her own authority. In an industry that tries to tell black actresses when their desirability expires, she rewrote that expectation entirely, declaring, well into her career, that her romantic destiny was a role only she was qualified to cast.
Saweetie.
She built her name on independence anthems, and she has lived that ethos in the glare of a social media era that turns every rumor into a headline within minutes. Diamante Cuiava Valentine Harper, born July 2, 1993, in Santa Clara, California, is a USC communications graduate who rose through viral singles like Icy Girl into a platinum-selling rapper and businesswoman. Her most defining relationship ignited in late 2018 with Migos frontman Quavo, sparked, fittingly for her generation, by a viral direct message exchange involving a snowflake emoji. For nearly 3 years, they reigned as one of hip-hop's most visible couples, trading extravagant gifts including a custom Bentley, before an emotional and very public split in 2021. Here honesty matters. The tabloids raced to attach her name to a string of figures after that split, but many of those connections were never confirmed relationships. They were rumors and single sightings, and they don't belong in a serious accounting of her life. What is actually documented is a heavily photographed, roughly year-long relationship with West Coast artist YG, before the two quietly separated to focus on their careers. More recently, she found a connection with international football star Jadon Sancho, a Manchester United player who reportedly had her middle name tattooed on his skin. Across all of it, Saweetie has been outspoken about refusing to let gossip define her, pushing back on her own platforms against the manufactured version of her love life. Her real story is not the gossip the internet built around her, but the steadiness with which she refused to let it stand as the truth. Lori Harvey. She became one of the most talked about women of her generation almost entirely on her own terms, and turned the tabloid obsession with her love life into proof of her power rather than evidence against her. Lori Harvey, born January 13, 1997, is a model and the founder of the skincare brand SKN by LH, and the stepdaughter of entertainer Steve Harvey. Her romantic timeline generates staggering public interest, and she navigated it with a poise that became its own statement. Her early relationships included a high-profile engagement to Dutch footballer Memphis Depay around 2017, a pairing her stepfather publicly celebrated before the two parted ways. In 2019, she had a widely chronicled relationship with rapper Future, but her most culturally seismic romance began on Instagram in January 2021 with actor Michael B. Jordan, a relationship that became, for a year and a half, the internet's definition of couple goals, complete with an aquarium rented for Valentine's Day, before they parted in June 2022. She was later linked to British actor Damson Idris. What made Harvey a phenomenon was not who she dated, but how. Entering and exiting relationships with a calm, unbothered autonomy that flipped the old script. Where the tabloids expected a young woman to be defined by her famous exes, she treated each relationship as a chapter she opened and closed herself, turning the very scrutiny meant to diminish her into proof that she, and no one else, controlled the timeline. Where an older script would have cast a young woman as defined by whom she dated, Harvey inverted it entirely. Each relationship a chapter she opened with confidence and closed without drama, leaving the public fascinated, precisely because she was never the one chasing. Kenya Moore. A pageant crown made her famous, but it was her refusal to let anyone else stage manage her life that made her a genuine reality television force. Kenya Moore, born January 24, 1971 in Detroit, was crowned Miss USA in 1993 and became one of the defining personalities of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Her romantic life played out under enormous scrutiny, and she guarded fiercely where the public's access ended, declining to confirm the speculation tabloids attached to her. Her most documented reality-era relationship with fitness trainer Matt Jordan from roughly 2015 to 2016 unfolded on screen before ending under difficult circumstances that led her to seek a protective order, a reminder that her guardedness was self-protection, not performance. In June 2017, she orchestrated a secret chapter, marrying businessman and restaurateur Mark Daly in a private Caribbean ceremony that blindsided even her own network. And in 2018, she welcomed her daughter Brooklyn via IVF after speaking openly about her fertility journey. The marriage ended in a divorce finalized in 2024. Through every turn, Moore controlled the release of her own story with the precision of a producer, revealing a secret wedding on her timing, protecting her child from the cameras, and refusing to let the show, the tabloids, or anyone else decide which parts of her life belonged to the public. Time and again she released her own story on her own schedule. A secret wedding revealed when she was ready. A fertility journey shared to help other women. A child shielded from the cameras. In a genre built on exposing women, Kenya Moore proved you could thrive inside it, while still deciding exactly where the public's access ended. She was always the author, never the subject. Larsa Pippen. She spent 2 decades as one half of a famous marriage, and then, in her 50s, insisted on the right to a second act written entirely by her, and dared anyone to find that unbecoming. Larsa Marie Pippen, born July 6, 1974 in Chicago, to Lebanese and Syrian heritage, spent nearly 25 years married to NBA legend Scottie Pippen, a union beginning in 1997 that produced 4 children before an amicable divorce finalized in December 2021. Rather than fade quietly, the Real Housewives of Miami star turned her independence into a headline-generating chapter of its own. Her first major post-divorce relationship with Marcus Jordan, son of Scottie's Bulls teammate Michael Jordan, set off a media firestorm precisely because of that history, and the pair chronicled it openly, even launching a podcast before ending their on-and-off romance in mid-2024. In early 2025, she began dating former professional basketball player Jeff Kobe, a Columbia University graduate who once signed with the New York Knicks. The couple made their red carpet debut in April 2025 and have spoken about a serious future. Throughout, Pippen has been vocal about controlling her image, calling out deepfakes and manufactured gossip, and reminding the public that she answers to no one but herself. Her story pushes back against one of the oldest tabloid scripts, that a woman's romantic relevance ends with her first marriage. Where the world expected a former NBA wife to recede quietly, Pippen stepped forward instead, chose her own relationships in full view, and dared anyone to tell her that a woman in her 50s had used up her right to a love story of her own.